It's impossible to say how I feel about the piano. Each have their own tone, their own characteristics, their own feel. It's like saying, how do you feel about people? I mean, to see all of that just going on the dump was just like, something has to be done about this.
There's a sense that we've had something in the past which we've lost, and the upright pianos were built to be put in people's living rooms for people to commune and share in music making on a very personal level, which I think we lose. We don't have that anymore, and we don't sing with our parents. When Tim started working with pianos, it just seemed like, yeah, of course. Yeah, we can use pianos as building material.
He must have just thought, well, this guy's nuts. He's clearly not going to build a theatre out of pianos. That's insane. Why not build the whole building out of pianos? We need a good venue, and thus the idea of the Pianodrome was born.
What we're trying to do is build a community space, a theatre space, not some art centre which you feel intimidated going into.
This is the Forge, which is a community woodworking and metalwork shop. So as you can see, we've got an elephant graveyard of pianos, and we've even built a mini version of the Pianodrome with a geodesic structure over the top.
There will be nothing in there which isn't from a piano.
The man who delivers these pianos to me told me that he used to pay somebody to burn pianos.
You could burn them, and then the frames, the metal would be left, and whenever it's cooled down, you can come and take them away and sell the cast. But a lot of these ones that Tim gets, you know, they're not tunable. They are scrap pianos, basically.
You can't just take them to the dump. They won't take them. First, I was like, we can do this with no money and just volunteers, and like, it's just a question of time. But then at the point that Leon came on board, he's like, we can do this, but we need £80,000.
He couldn't necessarily see how we were going to do it.
You know, you might think I'm got my head in the clouds, but frankly,
I've written it all up in a funding application. There's a lot of detail there. This is how we're going to do it.
It was just ridiculous and enormously, immensely stressful.
But of course, that's just not the way that Tim thinks about how something would work.
He was right. He got the money. And then there was this period where we had the warehouse, we had the money, but we had no time.
Make you a coffee, toast with honey, feeling funny. Last night you see, I lost you, lost me. Lose me, prove me. Happy drinks, out of your drinks, Stephanie got a little bit blue.
The build, I just think, oh God, that was just horrifying. But on the other hand, it was very exciting.
Good job. Really nice. Really, really nice.
Just another 59 to go.
When we first moved into our warehouse, it felt a bit like starting like... Oh, no, it's... And then eventually the motors started whirring, and now we've got all these people who know what they're doing and they're sticking around.
Things really turned a corner when Mathieu came on board, right? Our master builder.
This French carpenter who turned up a couple of weeks ago and, like, pulled the whole project together.
He looked at the project and said, you guys need help.
It's a lot of work to build a piano. It's also a lot of work to dismantle it, but a lot less.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
I've come with some welcoming participants, a couple of Syrian refugees. We help people from other countries settle into Edinburgh. And one of the welcoming participants is a carpenter here.
Yes, Mohammed is here. So, do you know anybody who plays piano? Do you play?
Yes.
Oh, great.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But that's really nice. So even pieces that you only know a little bit, you can start and then somebody takes it up and then you pass it around and then... Yeah. I'm not saying that power tools are bad per se, but I think using power tools in lieu of using your imagination is definitely a bad idea.
Tim works really, really hard to not allow the project to deviate.
You've got to be speaking his language and on his wavelength, otherwise you can really cross wires.
Most of the design is staying Tim's ideas.
There was this constant sort of tension of me being like, no, this is how it has to be. Leon being like, this is how it has to be. Like, we've got to be realistic about this.
You know, the way that we communicated at that time was not very healthy. We really needed someone who was going to help us.
I arrived at the right time.
Robin had come along. She's a doula, so she looks after couples when they're having a baby.
A lot of practical and emotional support is the way I would describe being a doula. I was really struck by feeling like it was quite a privilege to sit there and witness this sort of engagement between the two of them, and they were able to sort of say what they needed to say to each other and listen to each other despite how they were feeling.
You have to sort of not hold on to it too dearly to allow people to get involved. And you have to realize that you're just one agent in like a ginormous network of people who allow these sorts of things to happen.
And it was immediately just like, okay, this works.
This is really solid.
That's pretty strong.
We've had a long relationship with the engineers, sending drawings through.
You know, all of the strength that's conferred by this massive cast iron frame to an engineer, that doesn't exist because it's not possible to specify it.
Without doing what they say, then the whole thing would have to like not open for the whole month.
We're installing in 10 days. They could just turn up and say, oh, it's not safe.
It was going to be a stretch whether we could pull it off, of course. 10 days is about standard for a baby to be late, generally. Up to 2 weeks, quite common. So, yeah, the baby was about 2 weeks late, I think.
On Tuesday, we put in the floor. On Thursday, the geodesic dome. Friday, all of the pianos came in. And then yesterday, we put all of the wedges together. We've reached a sort of point of, OK, what do we need to do still? What can I say? Here it is. Lots of space. 1, 2, 3. So we want to go to the right.
It's hard to tune one piano to another, especially if they're different sizes, because every piano's different. Tuning an upright piano to a grand piano is not so easy to make them sound so sweet together. And tuning 5 in a dome is interesting.
You all right? How was the risk assessment?
Oh, it was a joy. Good.
They're not even tightened up, these bolts. They're just resting.
Well, they do need to be finished.
Yeah, they do.
You couldn't make a piano with one type of tree. The great thing about the botanics is we're in this place where there's this incredible world-leading collection of trees. You could build a piano from the trees in the botanics.
More and more music seems to be on like massive stages, lots of lighting, very loud speaker system blaring out, and then you've got these tiny little people playing the guitar with these massive screens.
The whole experience of being in the Pianodrome, it should be one of freedom and liberation and connecting with a playfulness in yourself.
It feels really special because I know how much work's gone into this. Tim's been talking about it long before I even understood what he was talking about for years.
OK, you can come and view the baby now. You can all share.
We had this plan to make this the perfect theatre for Sync to play in, but then we didn't know it was going to work until we actually built it. We had one rehearsal. We were also just discovering that the acoustics in this space were amazing.
In your chair, you're lost and found.
Oh my God, this actually works. We were so busy kind of trying to just build something just there, and then to suddenly realize that all of our expectations about how the space would function were met. Purely as a musician, to be in a space where you can see everybody. Get everybody to just get up and dance. Kate and Rafa did that. They were playing a waltz and they just said, you know, come on everyone, join in.
I guess I hadn't really thought that so many people would come and that they'd be so with us.
Yeah, no, not surprised, but just really happy. Oh, it was great. When everyone clapped and you felt the whole thing resonating with the applause, and it just felt really alive.
It's like taking a seat in a gigantic walnut mahogany musical hug.
We didn't schedule too much during the day, so that people felt like they could just turn up, whether they were great pianists or they'd never touched a key before.
I loved the fact that I couldn't play anything, and yet I was still actually contributing.
If there was a sort of beautiful musician playing, it would sort of like draw them in, like the Pied Piper.
I got a little bit absorbed.
I didn't feel like I was performing, I was just kind of playing for myself. Really nice atmosphere.
It's like stepping into a living room or into a gladiatorial arena.
That was quite weird to be like, okay, I'm always being seen, and that was quite challenging. And I think that it did make me move in quite other ways.
There's a phrase, I don't know who said it, but that architecture is frozen music. It is that.
We'd like to take it on tour to venues around the UK, around the world.
It's difficult, it's so difficult, you know, because money changes everything, but it's also necessary, you know.
If you have an intention and you run with it and you put all of your effort into it, then people are attracted to that. There's like something magnetic about putting energy into something which you really believe in.
Pretty cool the way he incorporated everything in. I mean, every part of that in there was a piano at some point. The handrails, the seating.
A lot of people are saying that the piano's dying out. I'm not so sure. I think there's a lot of piano players hidden away, really, playing away.
They would put in such an accessible way. I mean, it's just incredible. Genius level.